I mean, at this point, is there really truly anything else I need to say about this show other than the fact that, as a Star Wars fan, I cannot help but be so giddy with excitement every single time I see something new pop up. Holy shit, man. What an episode yet again here with the Ahsoka Show. I cannot believe I just experienced what I witnessed here with this new one. Before we get into the video, I just want to let you all know that I am very close to 1,000 subscribers on this channel, which is my next big goal, and I would appreciate the support. If you are coming to this video, I certainly hope that you watch the episode because I will be talking about spoilers. Also, some of the footage you see in this video was taken from the channel Star Wars Coffee, which you can also go and check out the clips at. So I did not take any of this footage from tonight's episode illegally. I just wanted to make that very clear. So first off, the very beginning I thought it was a good way to introduce us back with Ahsoka and Huyang, considering we don't see them again for the rest of the episode. Just a small little intro like they did last week. They kind of go over again the idea of what the choice could have been for Sabine with regards to destroying the very possibility of going to that galaxy and seeing Ezra versus allowing Thrawn to come back. Then Ahsoka tells him that she'd like to hear one of the stories that he's always told younglings, and he utters the most famous words of this franchise in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, which, if I'm correct in saying this, has never actually been said before in Star Wars. I could be wrong about this, but the only other place that I would know that this would have been said is a book. I mean, I've seen all the movies, shows, and I've played a lot of the games, so I think this is the first time that I personally think I've ever heard it, and so I think it's also a good character for him to be the one to say it, because he is one of the oldest characters in all of Star Wars lore. He's thousands of years old, and so it makes sense. He's a storyteller and a teacher after all, and I honestly do wonder if Dave Filoni talked to George Lucas about that line specifically, but that's another conversation for another time. This is then when we transition over to where the episode becomes more amazing and awesome, and so our enemies in Morgan Elsbeth, Baylan Skoll, and Shin Hati through their giant hyperspace ring appear in the new galaxy. The first planet that they come across is Peridea, and quite literally this is the first time we've ever seen this planet in Star Wars because it is a new one that is only located through this new galaxy where Thrawn was located and banished to. It's a Saturn-looking type planet with spiral rings that just so happen to be the dead corpses of the space whales, which I think is pretty haunting if I'm being honest. They make their way down to the planet, and so far I have to say this planet leaves a lot of interest in my eyes. It seems like a very ancient planet with a lot of past ruin to it. We see a bunch of sculptures and statues appear at points, meaning that there was a civilization there at one point. Our characters land on top of a tower where we come face to face with 3 witches of Dathomir, or mothers as they go by. I thought this was such an interesting turn I wasn't expecting to see. This race of characters is by technicality supposed to be extinct after what happened to them in the Clone Wars. Obviously, with the addition of Merrin in the Jedi Fallen Order games, and here now with Morgan and these 3 mother witches, we now know that some did survive. And I'll be honest, I kind of appreciate that because I like that this particular area of Star Wars lore is being expanded upon. They are very clearly cool characters that have a big role in how so much of the magical side of Star Wars is done. They have a very controlling nature to them, which I do find fascinating. We see them take Sabine away to prison with the control of their magic, and then we get to a scene that I found to be quite fascinating and revealing, considering I had a feeling we were actually going to get this at some point down the line. Baylan and his apprentice Shin have their first, I would say, solid and grounded scene of character development, revealing a lot of their backstory. Baylan in particular speaks a lot to the world that they are on right now, which was once one of a myth and stories that some might just never have believed in, and to see it realized in front of him, I'm sure it probably was very big in his eyes. They then go on to talk about his past, and he mentioned the fact that he was only a little older than she was during the time of the Jedi Order before it fell, meaning that he was a general, as mentioned later in the episode. He fought alongside the clones, and now it just really makes me wonder who he was around in terms of the Jedi when he fought, because obviously clearly it was never once Anakin as one of them. He knew of him and his accomplishments, but clearly they never once talked to each other, I don't believe. I do wonder if we will get any of that information revealed in the next 2 episodes, and I found that the scene to be quite amazing between these two, to be quite honest. Also, just by the way that Baylan speaks and gives his views on everything that did happen, I think at this point I can easily describe him as being the more dark side version of Qui-Gon Jinn. I mean that in the sense that because of the way that he views things, he sounds more like him. Qui-Gon was of course more to the light side, but here with Baylan, he speaks and views things more with a darker side in mind, but he's not fully Sith. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's just the way I look at it. I would wonder how any other person would feel about that notion of how how similar they kind of feel to each other. The next scene is showing us Sabine in prison, trying to use the Force to escape, and behind her outside the window, we get the first huge reveal of a ship that I was expecting to see, and man, did it not disappoint. As we pen outside the fortress, we get a beautiful wide shot of the Star Destroyer Chimera coming out from the horizon. This is of course Grand Admiral Thrawn's flagship destroyer, easily one of the most terrifying Star Destroyers in the entirety of the Imperial fleet when the Empire was still around. It is up there with the likes of Vader's flagship destroyer, the Executor. Just seeing this ship show up in live action made me so excited because obviously we knew what was coming next with it. That is when only a few minutes later we get the reveal of our very true big bad of the show in our boy Grand Admiral Thrawn in all of his live-action glory, played by the same man who voiced him in the Rebels show, the actor that goes by the name of Lars Mikkelsen, the brother of Mads Mikkelsen who played Galen Erso in Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. This is easily, in my mind, one of the best reveals for a character in all of Star Wars entertainment history. Truly, not enough people realize how big of a character he is. He's one of the biggest villains in all of Star Wars history and lore. I would say easily close to the top 5 if you include people like Vader, Palpatine, Count Dooku, Darth Maul, and so on. On top of his reveal, we also get the reveal of his Army of Stormtroopers at his command, donning some incredibly cool and different looking armor than what we are used to seeing Stormtroopers wear. Something about this tells me that they are not the usual Stormtroopers that we are used to seeing that will miss all their shots when they shoot at people. There is also a part of me that the more I watched this episode and I looked at them and I listened to their voices, it made me think that they weren't actual people who were underneath those helmets. I think that the witches are using magic to bring something alive in those bodies of armor, kind of akin to what we saw with Merrick a couple of weeks ago after Ahsoka killed him and all of his dust and magic came out of his body. I think we are seeing something similar here with the Stormtroopers, and I don't think we should be messing with them in particular if we're talking about how they pair up with the older versions of Stormtroopers. Our very next scene finds us in an interrogation between Thrawn and Sabine, as I'm pretty sure this is also the first time that these two characters have ever seen each other, at least face to face. Of course, one of the main talking points is, where's Ezra? Thrawn very much alludes to the fact that he doesn't know where he is and that he managed to escape when they both traveled through to the new galaxy. He gives her a chance to go free and actually search for him, which, knowing Thrawn and how smart he is, he's going to lay out a plan quite well to where he wins when she does find him. So he quite literally does that in one of the very next scenes after Sabine leaves, where he lays out the plan of how, even though Baylan did stick to his agreement to let her find him, that doesn't exactly mean that he was going to let her get away with it. So he basically sends both Baylan and Shin to hunt them down and kill them. Again, we are talking about one of the smartest, if not the smartest character in Star Wars, and he knows how to deceive and manipulate people very well. Now, admittedly, I will complain about this next part, but I felt that the next 10 minutes of the episode were a little slower in terms of the pace, and basically getting to the point of what we do see is revealed at the very end of the episode. Sabine comes across a bunch of bandits who try to kill her. Thrawn learns of the fact that Ahsoka is coming through to the new galaxy as well. While looking at a space chart, Sabine comes across a brand new species to Star Wars of alien beings who we find out have come across Ezra at some point because they have that rebel insignia on a patch on their clothing. The last sequence of this slower 10 minutes finds us again with Baylan and Shin having a conversation with each other about their past. I will say I love how these scenes are directed because Filoni deep down knows that he doesn't necessarily need to draw a lot from Shin because Baylan will be doing all the storytelling himself to give us an idea of who they both are and where she in particular came from. And at this point I am definitely inclined to believe that she was just a Force-sensitive child that he came across after Order 66 and raised her up and trained her as his apprentice. Nothing more, nothing less. Unless we do find out more about her in the future. He says that he very much misses the idea of the Jedi Order, but doesn't miss the truth of what it actually was, which again leads more to my point about him being a more dark side version of Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn was not very favorable with the Jedi Order and had differing views than the majority of them did on the Council. Baylan quite literally is the same as him, only Qui-Gon is to the light side and Baylan is to the dark side more so. I'm still also so curious to know what Baylan is truly searching for because there's just something about him that feels incomplete to me. Does he truly just want to stay on that planet forever and never go anywhere else? Like, what does he really want? These are questions that I hope we get answers to very soon. We now get to arguably the second big reveal, and one that I knew was coming, but I just didn't expect it to happen this soon. I was honestly expecting that we might have gotten it within the last 2 episodes and not the last 3. So we basically get to the village of this new species where they brought Sabine to, and out of nowhere, as she's looking around, we see in the background behind her the reveal of the man himself. My boy, the one that we have been waiting years to see, just like Thrawn, has come back. Ezra goddamn Bridger, man. This was such a joy for me, and I'm sure for so many other Star Wars fans who have waited since 2018 to see this moment. It truly was heartwarming to see him show back up again, especially all grown up now and looking old with that beard. I mean, he's rocking that beard so well, it's honestly making me blush with my facial hair. I'm not saying I have that kind of beard, but I do appreciate when I see a good one from time to time. The warm embrace between him and Sabine was awesome, especially for how they view each other as basically family, but not technically by blood. There was a part of me that did wish that there was a little bit more emotion to the reveal. However, I think the way it was done was fine, considering deep down I know that there is just a lot of happy emotion versus sad emotion. These characters were always known for being very upbeat, and so I don't mind all that much. From the dialogue, it also seems like we are going to get the truth told to him and learn more about that, what he's been doing in the next episode. I can't wait for next Tuesday. I really cannot wait. Our final sequence brings us back to Thrawn, as he and Morgan are still talking about Ahsoka and how it was a mistake by Baylan to oversee the fact that he didn't kill her. With that in mind, Thrawn basically wants to know everything about her, as he tells Morgan. He also orders that any of and all space whales that approach the planet to be killed, which again just shows how ruthless he is as a character. He then turns to the mothers and basically asks them with the final line that he needs their dark magic once again. There are so many questions to this one line alone, like, what did he use their dark magic for beforehand? What is he planning to use their magic for now? Clearly something big is coming, and I don't know what it is. One of the areas I do think that their magic was used for, as I alluded to earlier, is that he had to bring some of the stormtroopers back to life. I don't actually believe that there are real people under those suits of armor, and again, this is just a theory. I'm not actually saying I fully know this. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I can't believe we are now already 2 episodes left to go with the show, and man, I'll tell you what, I love Andor so much, but this show is competing heavily with it right now for me in terms of the debate of what is the best single season of Star Wars television ever made, live action or animated. Truly, I think that this episode was great. Pairing it up with last week, these are 2 of some of the best Star Wars episodes ever for television. With all that being said, I'm going to end it off there with this video, and most importantly, I now want to hear any person who watches this video to give their thoughts down below in the comments. Please let me know what you think. I would also appreciate if you could like this video if you enjoyed what I had to say, and also if you enjoyed the episode as a whole. Finally, subscribe to the channel and I would greatly appreciate it. I'm very close to 1,000 subscribers on here, so any support would be very nice from you all. I hope everyone here has a wonderful rest of their week, and I can't wait to see you all next week for the new episode. May the Force be with you.